So we're chatting to Don Thomas today, who is a former NASA astronaut, has been to space 4 times on 4 space missions.
Yes, 4 times.
Clocked over 1,000 hours in space.
It's about 44 days or so.
Okay. And been around the Earth 700 times?
692 times around the planet, yes.
Wow.
It's really incredible to see our planet from space. People ask, what's the best thing of being in space? And I say, well, floating is fun. Floating around in zero gravity is fun, but looking at the Earth with your eye from 300 kilometers above is so amazing. It really changes your view of the planet. For me, my first mission, it only takes 8.5 minutes to get to space. So the space shuttle would launch, 8.5 minutes later the engine shut down, it's perfectly quiet and you're in space. I unstrapped from my seat and I floated to the window, and you get your first view of planet Earth. And I had seen all the movies from space and I'd seen the pictures, so I knew what to expect. I wasn't going to be surprised. But when I looked out the window and saw the Earth, it was like, I gasped. It was just so beautiful. The atmosphere is paper thin.
Okay.
And the sky is a darker black color than I've ever seen anywhere before. And so they have that pitch black sky and the little thin layer of atmosphere glowing there. It takes your breath away.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Cape Town. You do this tour annually.
We've been doing, this is the 2nd annual space tour, and I work with Living Maths.
Okay.
They organize this, they bring me in to do the program, and what we're doing, we're going along the garden route. We're starting in Cape Town, going along the garden route. We'll end up in Grahamstown in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And we're visiting schools, doing public lectures as well. And the whole idea is to inspire and excite young learners and the general public as well. Yeah, when I tell young learners, and I tell people of all ages this, you want to do your best every day in everything you're doing. I tell them, plan on going to university. If you want to work in the space agency, if you want to be an astronaut going to Mars in the future, and then you start enhancing your background. I took flying lessons. I learned to skydive. I taught a university course. These are experiences that NASA's looking for. And then the key point, the key message to young learners is to never give up along the way. When I was in high school, I would tell my friends, I want to go to the moon. Because Neil Armstrong had just landed on the moon. And I would tell my friends, I want to go to the moon. And they would laugh at me and say, you can't do that. So I tell students, don't give up. And when I got out of university, I started applying to NASA to become an astronaut. And the first time I applied, NASA turned me down. 2 years later, they had another selection, NASA turned me down. 3 years later, another selection. I got close. I was in the final group of 100 semifinalists, but I got turned down. And I tried a 4th time and made it in. So I tell young learners, do not give up. For whatever your dream is, don't give up on it.
Do you think that commercial space travel will become a reality anytime soon?
Commercial space travel is very close. I think Richard Branson with Virgin Galactic, sometime in the next year, I don't know.
As soon as that?
As soon as that, in the next year, a year and a half, I mean, he's very close.
In all of your time spent in space, what are your thoughts on extraterrestrial beings?
I get asked that question a lot, and I usually get asked, did you see any aliens?
Yeah.
And I tell a story. On my first flight, I saw a light flashing out the window, and I noticed it's moving with us. So it's not city lights down below. This thing is moving with us. It's flashing once a second. So I'm studying this thinking, what am I looking at? And I finally realized it turned out to be a big chunk of ice that had come off the back of our shuttle, and it was flipping in the air. And it had a flat side to it.
Okay.
And when the sunlight would hit it, it would be like a mirror giving you a flash. So what I thought was maybe an alien there turned out to be a chunk of ice. So I have not seen any alien life, but I do think the universe is so huge, there's other life out there. With the Hubble Space Telescope, we zoomed in on a part of the sky about the area of the disk of the full moon. And in that one small part of the sky, they discovered there were 15,000 galaxies. And each galaxy has 10 billion stars, and we think each star has multiple planets like our sun does. And we think these galaxies are evenly distributed. So wherever you look up in the sky, day or night, behind the area of the size of the full moon, there's probably 15,000 galaxies there. And just given those billions of galaxies, billions of stars, I think there's other life.
And tell us a little bit about why you like Cape Town so much.
Cape Town's just the natural beauty here is breathtaking. I've got pictures I'm going to show tonight of Cape Town from space. And what I enjoy most about coming to Cape Town is the warmth of the people. Whether it's the young learners, other people that I work with. When I come here and I'm working with the schools and the general public, I get to meet a lot of people. And then you're not just out sightseeing. You're meeting the people. You're really getting a good impression of the culture.
And the thought of never going back into space?
You know, I never like to think about that I'm done, but I flew 4 times, and the only way I could go up a 5th time would buy a commercial ticket. It's probably not going to happen in my lifetime. But I've lived in space, and people will ask me, what do you prefer, space or Earth? It's no competition, Earth. This is where you want to live. This is where your family is. This is where your friends are. Your favorite restaurants are right here. And this is where beautiful waterfalls and rivers and lakes and the oceans. I mean, Earth is where you want to live. Up in space, it's beautiful view up there. There's nothing up there. And it's lonely. I felt very detached from Earth. As I orbited the planet, only 300 kilometers up, I felt like I was a million miles away. Here's me, way down there is Earth. And I was not a part of it at all. So space was beautiful. I loved the time up there. But given an option, where do you want to live? This no question. I want to live on Earth. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here today.